Welcome to the Heal Your Hunger Show, where we get to the heart of why you overeat and how to stop. If you struggle with food and weight like I did, welcome home. Okay, so happy to have you here. Welcome, Dr. Hyla Cass.
Well, it's such a pleasure to be here. Thank you, Trish, for inviting me.
Absolutely. And I just adore you. We've been friends for many years, and it's always been a pleasure. We've done some joint things together. And, I consider you the absolute go-to person for any kind of holistic psychiatry. It's like anytime something comes up with a client or whatever it is, I'm just like, I send everybody to you because you because you're tapped in and you are so, aligned with me and my beliefs in really helping people find natural ways to heal themselves and deal with issues that so many doctors are treating, with pharmaceuticals. So I really thank you for that.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
Yeah. How did you get into this? Like, how you were trained probably very traditionally. So how did you get into this?
Well, part of it was my exposure to my training. I was trained psychodynamically. I learned about how to listen to people, how to interact, how to interpret what's going on. And I also learned family systems theory, which was very, very useful. In addition to that, I grew up as a doctor's kid, and my father had his office in the house. So I got to see firsthand what good old natural medicine looked like, because he didn't have a lot of tools in those days. So he had his office downstairs in the house in the basement, a very nice basement. It wasn't like a cellar. It was in Toronto. And I'd see his patients come in looking kind of worried and concerned and leaving pretty content, happy. And he would talk to me about different cases, not in a real personal way, but somebody had this and he did this. So I kind of was indoctrinated very early in the simple ways to treat patients and how important the relationship was.
Yeah, that's awesome. I didn't know that about you. That's really neat. So talk to me about the fact that so many doctors are treating with pharmaceuticals and what you've discovered as an alternative.
Well, I think the overdependence on pharmaceuticals is really just due to heavy marketing by the pharmaceutical industry. And they control the journals and the schools and the psychiatrists. And that's really unfortunate because long before somebody starts on a medication, we really need to look at what's going on. We need to look under the hood. Is there a nutritional deficiency? Something very simple. Or could it be a thyroid problem, an adrenal problem? What's going on? Before, and then of course talk therapy, that's always a good one. So I think there's been a real misdirection here with this medication, because so many people now are coming to me desperately wanting to get off the medication because it's so fraught with side effects. I mean, we have young women gaining 20 pounds and hating themselves. I mean, about all that, about the weight gain and women trying to lose, and they can't lose the weight.
Right.
And they have this insulin resistance because of the medications. And many other side effects, even homicide and suicide are side effects of medications. And people can't get off them either. The doctors really don't know how to take people off them. And then people become scared of getting off them because when they start, they get into these really rough patches. Mm-hmm. And then it's like, well, I told you so. You need to be on this medication for life. And they kind of lose themselves in the process, sadly. Now, I'm not saying everybody on medication, just get off your medication and stop it and it's bad for you. Some people do well on it and it's fine. But if you decide you want to go off of it, you have to do it gradually, do it with the help of some of the supplements I'm going to talk about, and do it really the right way. Going off cold turkey is not the right way.
Yeah. And nutritionally, I mean, let's talk about nutrition, because you're such a wonderful, a proponent of really getting so much of what we need nutritionally, which is sadly lacking in so many people's diets. But if they are eating the right way, they can be, their brains can be fed immensely.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we're talking about the brain being an organ. It's this very small organ, but consumes maybe 3 pounds, consumes 20% of the oxygen, glucose, nutrients. I mean, this is a very hungry organ, the brain. And we're not feeding it properly. I mean, fast food, processed food, sugar, crap, I mean, the things that people are eating, and then when there's something wrong, when you have something wrong with your brain, you're anxious, you're depressed, even bipolar, what's going on? It may be that brain isn't getting what it needs to do its job properly.
Yeah.
So giving medication is not going to give that brain what it needs. What it needs is the right foods, the right precursors, the right raw materials to make the brain cells and to make the neurotransmitters, the chemical messengers that actually make your brain function.
Absolutely. No, it's so true. And there is so much we can get, from our food that can help us in ways that we don't even realize. Let's talk about depression, because that is such a common thing, I believe, that emotional eaters feel is depressed. And, unfortunately, when we take that name to a doctor, they automatically, have a fix for it. And it's not necessarily, what's actually going on. It's just a feeling that we have.
Isn't that something? We have to medicate our feelings.
Yeah.
So if we're not medicating it with drugs, medication, prescriptions, we're medicating it with food.
Yeah.
So any way you look at it, apparently feelings aren't good, right? Okay. Yeah. And so we know differently. As I said, I'm trained psychodynamically. I understand the importance of emotions. These are messages. On the other hand, I have to say that these messages get highly exaggerated when your brain isn't working properly. So when you are actually replete, when you have the right nutrients and you have an emotion, you can read it correctly. You say, oh, that makes me sad. That makes me happy. I'm worried about that. Whatever it is, it's true emotion.
Right.
But when you're eating junk food and you're stressed and your adrenals are working overtime and you're eating like the worst food, then those feelings may be just the response to bad chemistry. Mm-hmm. So, it's awful to think, oh, no, but it's a real feeling. No, it's bad chemistry. Well, what really is it? Well, it's a combination. And the bad chemistry will exaggerate all that.
Right.
And people are amazed that once they actually get clear and clean and balanced, those feelings can come up. Absolutely, you don't lose your feelings. In fact, you gain your feelings, but they're real. You can really, oh, that's a real feel. I know why I'm feeling. Yeah, I'm sad because he said this to me. Not, oh, it's the end of the world and he hates me, and it's more like, oh, he said this and it's making me sad, and I can say that to him. Oh, that's making me sad when you say that and then you have a real communication.
Yeah.
So it's a real gift when you can rebalance your brain.
Yeah. Well, and that's just to your really making the point that to medicate our brains, when we feel depressed, to go on an antidepressant where we basically numb our feelings, it's similar to eating over our feelings, because if you can't identify what the feeling is, you can't address it and heal it or look at the cause of it so you can stop doing whatever it is that keeps making you feel that way.
Yeah, well, this is like the other day, young woman had taken quite a long time to get off this medication. We did it in very, very, very small increments, and she was on supplements, and we just did this very elegantly, slowly. It wasn't easy, but she did it, and she came in to see me the other day, and she said, this is fabulous. She said, I have feelings that I haven't had in years. These are real feelings, she said, and sometimes I feel anxious, and I'm noticing that I have this anxiety, but it's not the same kind of anxiety I had when I was withdrawing from the medication. She said that was sort of like a chemical feeling. This is like I'm having real feelings, and I'm also getting used to them, so I'm also having anxiety about having feelings. And she got it. She got it. It was beautiful. So this is what people have to look forward to when they can get themselves to separate from their medications when it's appropriate.
Yeah.
Okay, but then you would ask me a question earlier, so what's depression? So depression is when there is this depletion, and it could be a depletion of, say, serotonin, in which case, if you're depleted in serotonin, and this tends to be most prominent at the end of the day, in the evening, when maybe you haven't eaten much during the day because you were trying to not eat, be good, whatever that is. And then by the end of the day, you're starving, and maybe you've already put the kids to bed, and then it's time to pull out the ice cream, the cake, whatever was left over from dinner, and just gorge yourself. And it's crazy because while you're doing that, you're hating yourself, but it's mindless. And you know what that is? This is what's really, really interesting here. It's your brain saying, I need serotonin. You don't even know what your brain's doing. You just know, I got to eat this and this feels good. But it's saying, I need serotonin. And why is your brain saying it needs serotonin? Because it's dark, because it's nighttime, because you're tired, and it's bedtime. And actually, T.S. Wiley wrote a book called Lights Out where she talked about this. And that's what your brain is really craving right then. And you don't know that. You just know that you want to eat all that food. And the good news is that if you were to take a glutamine capsule, glutamine is a simple amino acid. You take a 500 milligram capsule, open it under your tongue, let it go under your tongue, and it tastes good. It tastes a little sweet. You may be surprised to find you're not craving whatever, that bowl of ice cream or that piece of cake just doesn't look so appetizing. And it's not willpower. I'm saying willpower is a real tough one. And if you're going to rely on willpower to get off anything that you're addicted to, forget it. Because at some point, your prefrontal cortex, the part that really can think and make decisions, just goes offline. And you're on automatic doing all the things you don't want to do and then feeling terrible afterwards. So you take some glutamine, you put it on your tongue, that's going to help. And then the other thing you want to do, because it provides a substitute blood sugar, but a good one, that's not going to bring you up and let you down, and I'll explain that. But also add some 5-HTP, 5-hydroxytryptophan, 100 to 200 milligrams. Or maybe start at 50 milligrams. Start at 50 milligrams, somewhere between 50 and 200 milligrams, you build up. That 5-hydroxytryptophan, shortened for 5-HTP, will turn into serotonin very quickly. And serotonin is what your brain is needing to calm down and feel happy. So it's a happy and calm feeling. Okay, so that's the neurotransmitter for feeling calm and good.
Yeah.
And then that turns into melatonin and you can fall asleep. So that's a good thing. Yeah. You know how sometimes people eat themselves into a stupor because they've eaten this food, this carb, which helps the protein called tryptophan get across the blood-brain barrier, get into the brain. It acts as a way of getting the brain receiving serotonin, because sugar doesn't contain serotonin, but it increases serotonin. And it turns into melatonin, and then you go, and you're gone. You're asleep. Yeah. So a better way to do it is let's supply the brain with serotonin. And a good way to do it also is to eat protein and eat several meals a day, eat a balanced, good diet. I mean, that's something you're talking about. I don't have to emphasize that. Yeah. But when you do that, you have the serotonin, you don't need the bad food, and you feel good about yourself, and you feel happy because the serotonin, your serotonin is raised. And the other thing is, if you have a depression that's more like an amotivational depression, it's funny, it used to be called atypical depression. I don't know why I say atypical. It's not atypical. It's pretty typical. So when you have a depression where you're unmotivated, I can't do that, and then you can't concentrate, you can't focus, you can't get your thing, whatever it is you want to do, started, you may be low in dopamine. So what you need is some tyrosine. And the tyrosine is going to produce dopamine, which is going to also produce norepinephrine and epinephrine. So it's going to get you going. It's going to get you feeling good and happy and motivated. And hey, let's go, let's move, let's do whatever we need to do. And the tyrosine also feeds your thyroid gland, which is that and your adrenals are your get up and go glands. So you see that these simple amino acids would sound like really just a little amino acid in a capsule can actually do amazing things. And that's the magic that I use. I use these together with different vitamins, minerals, herbs. It's kind of a kind of alchemy, but which you can learn. It's not that obscure, but it's having the right blend for the right person.
Yeah, that's beautiful and so important, and it's a package. I mean, we have to approach it from many different levels, and I love that you're really adding here how important the brain chemistry, being balanced is, and it's obviously we can't fix poor eating habits with, some various supplements.
Yes.
And we have to.
They're called supplements. They're called supplements. They're not called your food.
Exactly. It's really important to eat the 3 meals a day and make sure you've gotten your proper nutrition. But I love what you talk about at the nighttime, because for emotional eaters, nighttime is so tough. And, and I think it partially has to do with the fact that, when we're distracted during the day from our emotions, we're working, we're going here and there, we're driving kids, we're being, we're texting, we're calling. There's so many distractions that we're really disconnected from ourselves and we don't know what our emotions are. But when things are quiet and the kids are in bed, that's when those like little pesky emotions start to bubble to the surface, and then we're like more aware, and then we want to medicate with the food. And also I find that emotional eaters, that's a lot when they feel the anxiety that emotional eaters so often have keeps them up. Like it's a crazy thing, and emotional eaters, I find, don't want to go to bed. Like they need to go to bed. Their bodies are telling them they need to go to bed. And that's when they just keep on, like they stay on the computer, they stay, surfing Facebook. And it's just such a, self-defeating thing, because their body, like more than anything, they need to go to bed, and they're forcing themselves to stay up later and later. And of course, you don't just want to surf Facebook, you want to eat and surf Facebook.
Right. So that's when some 5-hydroxytryptophan or plain tryptophan, either one. Some people do better on tryptophan, some people do better on 5-hydroxytryptophan, but that will really help you to pull away from your computer addiction, because that's what's happening right then.
Right.
The food addiction, the computer addiction, it's the same thing. It's something that's giving you a hit.
Yep. TV addiction.
Giving you a good feeling.
Yep.
And we do this. We need it, and quote, need it. We need something, but it's so much better if what you need is actually something healthy.
Yeah.
If you can eat properly, take these amino acids just till you get balanced.
Yeah.
Then you can start having true human emotions, read your emotions properly, communicate about them properly, and have a whole better life.
Yeah, because it can be such an emotional roller coaster for emotional eaters, because as I said in my book, with these different character traits or personality traits that are so common for emotional eaters, one of which is that we feel so deeply. So it's like we feel everything to the nth degree, and it's like we feel more than your average person. And that roller coaster can really send us on a ride with food, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this hypersensitivity actually can be mitigated, because what I have found is that when you're depleted, and we're depleted because our diets are depleted and because we're stressed. So when we're depleted, we don't have enough magnesium, B vitamins, serotonin, GABA. When we don't have these, we're feeling everything so much more intensely. We don't have enough endorphins. Now, one of the amino acids to make endorphins, 2 of them, are tyrosine and phenylalanine. So that's DLPA for short, DLPA and tyrosine. And if you take them, if you tend to be somebody who cries in a commercial, everything affects you so much. It's good to be sensitive. I mean, hey, we're human beings. We ought to be sensitive, but we're overly sensitive.
Right.
And it works to our detriment. It's a sign that you may be just too low in endorphins. And if you start taking some tyrosine, D-phenylalanine, also some magnesium, which grounds you, and it also helps our cells work better. The battery of our cells works better when it has the right amount of magnesium, because we're pretty depleted in magnesium. So I'm saying this is why I'm talking about alchemy. It's brain alchemy, neurotransmitter alchemy. It's knowing which ones you need, and it actually helps you to function better in the world and to be a happier, better performing, better person. Yeah. You like yourself better.
Yeah.
Your family likes you better.
Yeah, that's a big one. You're nicer at work. I mean, everything. So it's just so good to talk to you, Hyla, because this is really pretty simple stuff. It's, not that I understand it, you're helping to explain it, but I'm just saying solutions that are at our fingertips that we can actually do. It's like you're really empowering people to take back their health and not think I have to run out to a doctor every time something's not right with me. And you're really showing people how to supplement, for effective thinking and emotional balance. And God, that is just so needed in this world.
You're absolutely right. Actually, in The Addicted Brain, can I show it?
Yes, please. We'd love to see it.
The Addicted Brain and How to Break Free. I actually talk about this. Everything from sugar addiction to being hung up on your medication, being unable to get off it properly, to cocaine, alcohol, all the rest. How to get off of those in a good way, in a way that'll actually work with your chemistry, and so that you're not constantly on this roller coaster of relapse, which is just so common because we haven't solved the problem. You may get off of a substance of addiction, whether it's food or alcohol or whatever, but until you've dealt with the underlying imbalance, the actual biochemical imbalance, you're going to be white knuckling it.
Yeah.
And it's not fair to you when we have these solutions. And then you can, and it's not taking away your emotions. It's not disempowering you. Oh, just take a pill. It's,
Yeah.
It's not that. It's very consciously taking sustenance that's going to change how your brain works. Because we are chemical beings. We evolved. Of course, we're spiritual as well. But our physical body is chemical, and we have to feed it properly to make it work. I mean, I had this one young man who had a fear of driving, among other things. Not terrible. I mean, he could if he had to, but it was making him very dependent on his wife to drive him places, and that wasn't good for the relationship. And he had to come see me one time, and she couldn't take him. And I said, how about taking some of my calm, natural mind before you come over, which has GABA in it. And GABA is the calming neurotransmitter precursor, and theanine, which is a calming amino acid. I said, why don't you just take a couple of calm before you come over and see what happens. So he said, okay, I'll do that, because he was really wanting to liberate himself. So he did that, and he was fine. He drove over, he was calm, he was funny, he felt like he said, I'm feeling like myself.
That is beautiful. I love it. I just love it. And it's really, for anybody who's thinking, I can't afford supplements, I'll just say right now, we really can't afford not to invest in ourselves and in the right way, because, my experience is if I don't have either time or money to be healthy and well, I'm going to need time and money to be sick, because it's going to cost us,
Which costs in so many ways.
Yeah, so many ways. Even if you just look at the food aspect, I mean, the money I used to spend on binges, holy mackerel. Right.
Yeah. I mean, you have to decide where you're going to spend it.
Yeah.
Now, for example, with supplements, I mean, years ago when I started to do all this, you can imagine not too many people were doing it. Okay.
Yeah.
So I actually had to create my own formulas, because people were saying, well, that's a really good idea, but, I have to take GABA and calm and then B vitamins to go with it. And it was kind of confusing and a lot. And if somebody is in trouble, they're depressed, they're anxious, they're addicted to food, they're addicted to whatever, they're not going to have the wherewithal to really measure these things out and figure it all out. And they'll lose patience with the whole business.
Yep.
So I made it simple, and I put things into formulas. So that's on my website.
Yep.
So there's a way for people to know, and I help you figure out what it is that you need for yourself. So that kind of combines things in a better way and making it simpler. So you're right. It's not totally simple, but it's a lot simpler when you or I have pre-digested it for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And your supplements are awesome. And also in the worksheet that you're providing, the different action steps for people, you have a quiz, right? So they can learn a little bit more about themselves and what they need. Right.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Talk about sugar. We're almost at the end here, but I just want you to just tell us why, we need reminders because
sugar. Why is sugar bad?
Yeah.
First of all, it's carcinogenic. Cancer cells love sugar, and you don't know where you have cancer in your body. I mean, we're always killing it off. We have it. So that's one thing. And Dr. Lustig did a lot with that. He really explained it to us at the University of San Francisco. But aside from that, when we eat sugar, we set off this crazy roller coaster. The sugar hits our brain. It's like, wow, oh, that feels great, because we get a sugar high. But very soon, the reading, the pancreas reads and says, oh, wait, there's too much sugar here. We need to pull some back and put it into the cells. So it releases insulin. The sugar gets pulled back into the cells. And before you know it, you have what's called reactive hypoglycemia, which means your body reacts and gives you lower blood sugar than you had before. So you're back again with that low blood sugar feeling, that yucky feeling. You could be feeling kind of nervous, kind of draggy, kind of tired, kind of just yucky. And, oh, I got to have another donut.
Right.
And then you're on this whole roller coaster. And that is taxing your adrenals, because every time your blood sugar goes low, your adrenals say, oh no, this is an emergency. In fact, it feels like it can be like life or death, because when the adrenaline starts pumping, it's like your body doesn't even know what the emergency is. It's just low blood sugar. So you're not being really chased by a lion or tiger. There's nothing so devastating, but it feels like it because it's low blood sugar. Yeah. And sugar is a sustenance for your cells. So it's a losing battle, because you're always going up and down on that roller coaster. You feel good for a minute when you get the hit. It's like you're chasing that high all the time. Yeah. So it's not really your friend. And the way to deal with that, to avoid it, is to eat three good meals a day, sufficient protein, because that keeps your blood sugar going nicely, sufficient fat. We need fat. Don't do this fat-free stuff, please. Mm-hmm. Our brains are made out of 60 to 70% fat. So we need fat. We need good quality protein. And we need some complex carbs, mostly in the form of veggies. So plant-based diet, some protein, some animal protein. Don't be fat phobic. And you have a really good recipe there for good survival. And then you can fill in with the amino acids that I mentioned. Yeah. And even more of them that I talk about in 8 Weeks to Vibrant Health, and in The Addicted Brain and How to Break Free, and in my older book, which was Natural Highs, which is all about brain chemistry. So I've been writing about this for a long time.
You have, and you're just really a pioneer in this, and I just love you for that, absolutely. And I love you for lots of things.
Thanks, sweetie. I love you too.
You're just awesome. Before we really end our talk here today, I have a question for you, and I am asking all of my wonderful guests this, and that is, what is your deepest hunger?
My deepest hunger, it's to see the world really liberated, to see people really liberated, to know that they don't have to be dependent on medications, they don't have to be dependent on processed food and all the propaganda that they're taught. And they can be free, they can eat in a healthy way, the way we were meant to eat before factory food became, it's the economics, Yeah. The economy is built around frankenfoods. So, and they're made to be addicted. These foods are all made to be addicted. A lot of books written about this. Yep. So I'm saying, listen to you, listen to me. Don't get pulled down into the conventional lack of wisdom. Yep. And do what's right for your body and your brain, and you'll live a fuller, happier life, better relationships, more success. There's no question about it. And be a fully functioning human being, mind, body, and spirit when you do that.
Yep, and that's how you heal your hunger. No question about it. I love that. I love that, Hyla. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, you're welcome. My pleasure.
Okay. Well, bless you, and thank you for being a blessing.
Thank you.
If you enjoyed this show and want to get free support, insider health info, exclusive invites to events, and more, visit healyourhunger.com.